Greetings and peace. I hope you and yours are doing well today, wherever you might be watching this from. Now, the title of today's discussion that I wanted to do is a Sufi Masonic comparison on the 24-inch gauge and how you should manage your time properly from both a Sufi and Masonic perspective. Now, in Freemasonry, the teaching of the 24-inch gauge teaches you to divide your time evenly, so you are a good and honorable man by giving 8 hours to God and your faith, 8 hours to your vocation and responsibilities and work and the responsibilities and things which are entrusted upon you to take care of yourself and family, and 8 hours for refreshment and things like that, to making sure you're taking proper care for yourself. So your work, refreshment, God, neighbor, country, all that stuff in between, you have to manage within that 24-hour period. And what you have to do is you have to live a balanced and good life to make sure things in your life are handled in a proper way, where you have time to do your spiritual practices, especially now where it's needed more than ever in this time of chaos, where you're giving enough time to your family, because it's not always about work and bills, as you know. That's not what we came here on this earth for. And also building bonds with those that you love, including with the Creator, the Grand Architect, in whichever way you perceive that divinity. As many people have also not only lost that connection with their family and neighbors and friends, but also with the Creator in this rat race lifestyle that we have found ourselves in, thinking that we just came to this earth to just pay bills and pay taxes and then go away eventually. But we're all walking each other home, and we owe that love and light to one another. So that's what the aspect of living a healthy and balanced life makes you a better man in many ways. And even in the Sufi tradition, there's a hadith of which predates the 24-inch gauge teaching of Masonry by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who says the same exact thing, that give 8 hours to your family and neighbors, 8 hours to God, 8 hours to your work and vocations and things like that. So even in my Sufi path, as I simultaneously walk the path of Sufism and Masonry, it teaches me the same exact thing on how you should live a balanced life. Now, take in consideration, how are you living your life at the moment? How is your work life? How is your family life? Are you giving enough time to your wife and kids, or to your husband and kids if you're a woman? Or are you giving enough time to your spiritual practices? Are you giving enough time to making sure you're getting the proper rest, you're getting the proper food, exercise, water, things like that? Because ultimately, you have to live your life in moderation. As the teaching of Sufism and Masonry tells us, to live your life in moderation and do not exceed anything. To live everything in a healthy balance. So if work is taking too much of your time, then there's something that you need to balance. If there's something which is depleting you mentally, physically, financially, then you need to take that into consideration, that, okay, what is it that I need to do? Am I giving too much time to the fraternity, or too much time over here, and not enough time for myself, God, my family, my finances, and things like that? So all those things have to come in consideration in terms of how you are supposed to live a healthy and balanced life. Because this human life, it goes by very quickly. Feels like a dream or an illusion, where a man's life could be between 50 to 70 years, right? Average these days. But in the eyes of the cosmos, it is just a wink. And that's what we are reminded always. Make best use of the time that you have been given on this earth. Do not waste your time, and do everything in a clear and concise manner. Think about what you want to do. Let's say right now we're in 2022, right? We're in the second half of 2022. Think about where you want to be a year from now. What is it that you can study? What is it that you can get better at? What is it that you can improve in your life? Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially. And then once you accept a situation and come up with a game plan, that's when you can start bringing that plan into fruition. And anything is possible, but first you have to admit, just like those that have a hard time healing from their traumas or anything that happened to them, which limits them in their jobs and relationships and things like that. So in order to find forgiveness, you need to first forgive yourself. That's the main thing. Try to find that healing within. And when you have a strong foundation, that's when you will be able to help others. So it's important what the 24-inch gauge of Masonry is teaching you in a exoteric and esoteric way, both internally and externally. Just like the Sufi teachings of Al-Zahir and the Al-Batin, the hidden and the exterior. So take both accounts in consideration, that on the outside it's telling you to have proper time management skills, but on the inside it makes you a complete being. If your spiritual practices are being done, if you're getting the proper sleep, exercise, you're giving time to your spouse, your children, your family, God, you're managing everything properly. It's not always about work. There's a healthy boundary that you set with work where you're not being taken advantage of or abused at the same time, as we see right now with Generation Z, who's not tolerating any of that. So it's important in this time of great change to embody those practices within yourself and within your life, and to continue to think, where will I be a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now? And take in consideration how you should be temperate, discreet, and the aspect of obedience to self, to God, to your practices, and your life will transform in a very beautiful way. One of my Sufi friends he used to joke with me that there are two types of people in this world, and I would ask him, what are those two types of people? And he would say, one that have discipline and the second that have no discipline. So basically, in this aspect of the time management and the 24-inch gauge, don't be basically a prisoner to your ego, to your desires, to anything of a lower nature which prohibits you from being the best that you can for your work, for self, for family, for God, for your neighbor, etc., etc., as all of it culminates together from the Sufi teachings of the Hadith of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and also the Masonic teaching of the 24-inch gauge, that you have to be a better man, you have to be a better husband, you have to be a better father, a better brother, a better friend, things like that. Because when people or the men in this world get better, then the world automatically becomes better when the beings in it become better. So we do owe that duty and responsibility to each other by making sure that it's not always work, 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 or running after money. What is any of that going to do for you, right? You look at recently the Sheikh in Dubai who passed away, who owned the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world, with some of the most expensive homes and restaurants and condos and businesses, and he's lying in the dirt right now. So he didn't take none of that with him. So the 24-inch gauge is also a reminder to those that this life, you didn't just come here for the material stuff. That stuff, yeah, it's there for this life where as long as you're making enough to take care of yourself and your family, that's good enough. But then there comes a point when if you do a little too much, then you fall into the greed category, right? Because you're not going to take any of that with you. And when you go over that boundary, then you're taken away from other things which matter, such as your family, your friends, people that love you, the ones that you love, God, and all those things in between. So what the 24-inch gauge is teaching you from a Sufi and Masonic perspective is a very important thing in this life right now, where everyone's just running for nothing, right? What are you going to get in the end? Nothing. It's like what Omar Khayyam said, the Persian poet, one of my favorites, that at the end, this whole life is a game of chess. Whether you're a king, a queen, a pawn, a bishop, a rook, What happens when the game is wrapped up? All the pieces get collected and they get put back in the same box with the board, right? So think about all these things and start living your life in a more healthy and balanced way. Wake up early, sleep early, eat good, drink good, associate with good habits and a good lifestyle. Live a balanced life where you have 4 to 5 days of work, the other days for your health and refreshment, for your time, for your family, for God, and all those things in between. The 24-inch gauge is, if you follow that, then that's the best thing you could ever do for your life. And that makes you a better man from a Sufi and Masonic perspective. So I usually put out at least 2 Masonic education videos a month. So I hope this second one that I put out for August 22, you were able to benefit from it. So peace and blessings be with all of you as we come towards the end of the summer. Thank you.